Good afternoon. I'm Bucks County District Attorney Jennifer Schorn. I'm here to report the arrest of 33-year-old Nafis Fisher of Philadelphia. On October 7th, shortly after 2 a.m., a 25-year-old victim who resides with her mother and her father is on hospice care, very ill. She awoke to a man on top of her, trying to restrain her in her bedroom as she slept. Ultimately, that 25-year-old female victim screamed such that it awoke her mom, and her mom came running into the hallway where her mom physically grappled with the intruder. The man subsequently fled the hallway, downstairs into the kitchen and to the basement of the home, and then fled the home through the garage. Both victims were able to observe a black, low-riding sedan fleeing from their home. They immediately called 911, and the Upper Southampton Township Police Department acted so swiftly to this case. Upon their arrival, they learned that in the victim's bedroom, perhaps the most scary part of this investigation is the fact that there was a knife in her bed and an extension cord on the floor next to her bed where the intruder was holding her down. Obviously, items that were not in her bedroom prior to this attack. They learned that the victim's personal belongings were taken, which included a passport, credit cards, debit cards, and also her AirPods. And the police, acting with the victim's consent, used just great instincts in activating the Find My feature on the AirPods. That indicated a location close in proximity to where the home invasion occurred on Davisville Road. Police responded and immediately recovered evidence, the victim's discarded wallet, in that location. They continued to live monitor the Find My feature of those AirPods, and they saw that the AirPods were next seen on the Pennsylvania Turnpike and then in the area of Delaware County near Falkcroft. Ultimately, the Find My feature indicated that the AirPods were stationary on Aramingo Avenue and Somerset Street in the city of Philadelphia. And I cannot applaud the work that the Upper Southampton Township Police Department did, both patrol and detectives, in conjunction with the Philadelphia Police Department, who acted immediately to assist. When they saw that the AirPods were stationary at that location in the city of Philadelphia, they observed a vehicle that matched the description of the vehicle that was seen fleeing the residence, and they also observed a man in that vehicle resting. Upon their approach to the vehicle, when there was enough of a distance to hear an audible alert, they alerted the audible feature of the Find My AirPods, which confirmed that this individual was in fact in possession of the victim's AirPods. They subsequently detained the individual and then gathered direct evidence of his involvement in this case, in the allegations involving the home invasion and victim attack in Upper Southampton Township. Again, I cannot emphasize enough just how courageous the victims were in this case. The 25-year-old victim, to have the presence of mind and the wherewithal to know to scream and fight with every fiber of her being, and then for her mom to physically intervene and grapple with this intruder, who was in fact an absolute stranger to them. And then obviously the outstanding police work that was done in this case. One can only imagine how much worse these crimes could have been, given what the nature of these allegations already are. The defendant, Nafis Fisher, was arrested and arraigned and is being held on $250,000 bail. Again, this case is one that just undermines everybody's belief that they're safe in their own home. I can honestly say to you that in Bucks County, every single resource, investigative resource and prosecutorial resource, will be used to prosecute this case. It's just unimaginable what these victims went through. And before I answer questions, I always lead with, and forgot today to fail to mention my team behind me, and I should not fail to mention this team because they are going to be the key to a successful prosecution in this case, and of course the outstanding police work. To my left is, my far left is, as you know, Chief Gregory Beidler of the Bucks County District Attorney's Office, and to his right is Chief Deputy District Attorney Jovan Jose, and to his right is Assistant District Attorney Sarah Hammond, and to her right is Chief Dominic Varicallo of the Upper Southampton Township Police Department. Detective James Shermer is the detective assigned who could not be here today. But again, I applaud the work that was done, and I'm confident in the work that will be done to get justice for these victims.
Was there any connection between the suspect and his family?
He was a stranger to this family, that we know with certainty. Obviously, there's much investigative steps that still need to be taken to identify why they were targeted. It also goes without saying there is a concern as to whether or not there was a sexual component here, given the knife, the cord, and being physically on top of and restraining the 25-year-old victim. You know, this was not a scenario where he entered the home and just got off with whatever property was available to him. So obviously we're investigating all aspects as it relates to why they were targeted.
Did he break into the home?
As it relates to his entry into the home is still a matter that's under investigation, and I'll have to report back at a later date. That will become apparent.
He has a long list in Philadelphia, but not of any sexual crimes here. This seems like a deviation from his previous criminal behavior.
I can't speak to that, and I also know, as you know, I'm not able to speak to prior criminal history, but I also know that oftentimes prior criminal histories reported are not accurately and fully detailed in their report. So again, that's something that I'm not able to confirm at this point.
But if there are similar crimes with an unknown intruder now, does he become someone you look at or other jurisdictions look at?
Absolutely, and we have in the past, and if that is in fact the case here, oftentimes we seek to consolidate if there's a signature type of crime. I mean, these crimes are highly unusual, and you know, that's why we're still appealing to the media. One of the things, to the public rather, using the media, one of the things I need to emphasize to anyone who may have information on this case, it is incumbent upon them to come forward with that information now. If they unwittingly provided information to him to allow him to target this victim and their family, it is incumbent upon that individual to share that information now. It certainly would be much better for them to find us than us to find them, which we are determined to find every bit of information pertaining to the motive and the opportunity to commit these crimes, these allegations.
Is there anything leading you to believe that that may have happened, that there may have been some kind of info provided to him?
Again, I am not going to comment on what, it's a great question, and it's certainly no disrespect, on what is still very much an active investigation. This case unfolded so quickly. The fact that we're here today to be able to report he is physically in custody and will not pose a danger to the community while he is in custody pending prosecution, it's remarkable. But that also means that there's a lot of work that needs to be done until we can publicly answer those questions.
And so if you could just kind of say that, your message again, that you'd like us to relay?
It is incumbent upon anyone who has information regarding this case to come forward. Obviously, we always appeal to the public, and our public has been great and have really been the difference between, in some cases that are unsolved, solving cases. Obviously, this case is remarkable in the investigative work, but if someone provided information or unwittingly provided information, it is incumbent upon them to provide that information to us now so we can understand the unwitting aspect of that. Again, I'm not, going to say anything more to read into that, but certainly that is critical for someone, if they possess that knowledge, to please come forward.
Is he in jail here in Bucks County?
He is. He
At
is.
this point, you're not saying that this was like a random act, but you're also not saying that. I want to be clear. You either are still trying to figure this out, or you have an idea as to what led him there.
We know he was in fact a stranger to these victims. How he targeted this home, given the fact that he resides in the city of Philadelphia, this is a very specific residential neighborhood. It is, and we do know, I failed to mention one of the investigative things that was just done that was remarkable was not only to link the car and the identification of the perpetrator to what was observed in the city of Philadelphia on Aramingo Avenue, but the license plate readers put his vehicle in the area in close proximity to the home for about 3 hours, about 2 hours prior to the commission of the offense and then immediately following the offense. So less than 3 hours, but so begs the question what was happening from midnight to 2 a.m.
Do you ever want to just say, I mean, here, with the technology, the license plate readers, the cameras everywhere, cell phones, that it's just, you're going to get caught. It's not working.
You're going to get caught in Bucks County, and we're only scratching the surface of our technology. I'm not going to share the rest, but yes, that's why it's a privilege to get to work with the men and women in law enforcement. And again, I cannot be more proud of the unbelievable collaboration with the City of Philadelphia Police Department. They were remarkable, and one of the busiest cities in this country as far as what the law enforcement is tasked with, and they immediately, swiftly helped, and we would not have him in our custody as quick as we did without their assistance.
Is there another part, when you say it's incumbent on them to come to you now, is there another part of that sentence that if they don't come to you and you find out that?
We always look at accomplice liability, and we always look at it, and it's proven often by circumstantial evidence. And so, you know, if someone comes forward once they realize, and we appeal to the public and they realize what occurred, it certainly puts it in a different light than us finding them. And reluctance. Again, they're not legally obligated, but I would suggest it's incumbent upon them to come forward if they inadvertently provided information that was acted upon. Again, and I don't want anyone to read into that, but just this is still very much in the early phases of this investigation.
Do you have any idea how long he was in the house before waking the victim?
No, but we do know that the victim and her mother recently traveled. They came back from the airport just a few days prior to this, and you know, naturally, you know, her passport was taken as one of the documents, and credit cards and debit cards at her AirPods. So it's not clear if he was rooting around the house beforehand. I would suggest it was quite clear that he was targeting the 25-year-old victim's bedroom. All right. If there are no further questions, I thank you for your time.